tonight, Tom Simmons caught on camera berating his producers.
See, that's what I'm talking about. We can't have that kind of miscommunication going at this studio if we want to take on the big guys. You know what I'm saying? Isn't that the goal? Is our goal to do well at this thing or to just f around with each other and open mic at this? You know what I'm saying?
The podcast star Simmons wasn't taking notes on his jewelry.
Your necklace is making noises on the mic.
Okay, listen, this is what I'm talking about, right? I don't need complaints from the booth, okay? You do your thing. How do you know it's not my bracelet?
One of Simmons' producers quits on the spot, only to fall into one of Simmons' trapdoors.
Here, this is, I mean, you know what I'm saying? We gotta do, this show's gotta be better, all right? Right now, we're, Contests are the worst. They're best and the worst because they make you, if you didn't do it as a contest, people would go up there and play around a little bit, play to the back of the room more. But as soon as you have to lock in, it really does make everybody bring their top
and
thing.
I think it makes the scene better.
Yeah, what I mean is comedically, like you can come off stage and be like, I did everything I wanted to do, and then the results come out and you're third place or whatever, second place, and that changes how you feel about your comedy.
Yeah.
Because it was just judged, you know?
Yeah.
It's almost like when you're selling merch and afterwards, and then you have like a show, you like, that was awesome. They loved it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And nobody really buys anything, and you're like, oh, it must have sucked.
It is so strange how the winds will change quickly on how you feel about a show or how you feel in general. You know, I get the swings.
Have you ever competed in the contest?
Not in ours, obviously, but
why?
He can't.
Why?
If he won, it'd be like John Madden winning the Super Bowl. It's
John
like,
Madden didn't win a Super Bowl.
Okay, well, you know what I mean. It's like he owns the club.
Yeah, it's too easy to.
It's not.
We get accused of all sorts of things anyway, and we're not in it.
But the judging is the judging is the judging. It has nothing to do with you. And you
true.
You don't you're not one of the judges. And especially if you were doing it, you wouldn't be. And nobody has any incentive to vote for you. It's anonymous.
Correct.
It's crowd response. You don't have friends. You know what I mean? You're at a disadvantage.
I don't have friends. That's so true. That's so true. Yeah, I think just to make sure there's never a feel of of impropriety or something like that. We just try to keep it cleaner. Plus,
do you ever host the finals?
Yeah, back when we would do that at the Carolina, and that's something that was kind of awesome because we would give everybody a theater show, which was a pretty cool experience.
Yeah.
And so that was fun to give that. That was as much of a prize just for all the finalists. You know, you make it to that show and you're in a theater show. It just ended up being far more stressful for us because it was, how do you fill an 1,100 person theater? And it was just advertising and trying to press and get people there. It's another thing to try to organize. It's not as easy as just opening up your doors, putting the link up, you know. So
right. And how much did it change? Like, because a lot of times that'd be the first time in a theater, which changes the way you do comedy.
100%.
The timing and the blah blah blah, and then now the jokes are coming back at your face and the laughter's coming back at your face in a different way, and then you're like, you have to adjust to that, and you're in a contest.
Yeah, I think it really put the first time you were in the finals, it gave people that had been there before the advantage, right? That there's that instant, and we would warn people once we experienced it. We're like, hey, it's different. Go up there with confidence, deliver it. I don't know if it's real, but it feels like there's this ever so slight delay.
That's real.
And
how can that not be real? It's
just because the actual distance, like sound wise, it's not that much distance for the speed of sound relative to the.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it should be that way,
but it just feels like there's this instant, and you sense it because I can remember very fondly the very first time.
I didn't sense it the first time I did
that. I got up there. So first of all, I'm just hosting. I'm opening and hosting the night at the Carolina, and there was an ice storm. And I should have pulled the plug and said, we'll reschedule. But in particular, Eric's dad was on a flight coming down, and I was like, oh, people, like finalists' parents are flying in. I can't reschedule at this point.
That's crazy.
So I kept on, I was like, all right, we'll make do. And I don't remember how many people bought tickets, but in this 1,100 person theater, there was only 150 people that made it out in the ice, which is honestly amazing for North Carolina.
Did Eric's dad make it?
Yes.
They didn't shut down the airport? And
no, yeah. So that part was at least made that.
Did he win?
Not that year. I think that was the following year.
When his dad was like, I'm not coming back down for that.
I think so. I can never remember these, but I went out there and I was in a foul mood. Like, we just lost this whole bunch of money, right? We're not covering the cost of the rental.
We just didn't lose in front of your dad.
And so I'm...
Nothing, Seth, on that? Come on. Right.
I was laughing. I'm just behind this thing.
I go out there and I just phone in my first joke. I'm reciting it. I don't know if you've ever had this experience where something is in your head and you're no longer performing the way you normally perform, and the words come out of your face, but I didn't mean it.
Yeah.
And I just had this inner dialogue of, this is going to be the worst night of our life. That this is going to go performing to 150 people in this vacuum of a theater with only 150 people. They did move up, and I phoned in my first joke, and then they laughed with a level of energy that shocked me.
And it shocked you out of your own world to be like, these people, they're excited to be here.
Yeah.
Because they came through all of this stuff.
And if I would have delivered the rest of the set the way I started that set, I would probably still be mad at myself to this day, because I think that's horribly unprofessional, right? Your job is, whoever shows up, your job is to make them happier, please them in some way, and elicit a laugh. I know sometimes there are people in the audience where I target. I'm like, all right, I'm going to make that dude laugh. And usually I succeed, but not always.
So what would you say to somebody that would say, no, if you need to go up there and be true to your own emotions at the time. Like, if you're going to, you need to find a way to get laughs in the way you're feeling about the situation, instead of being like, putting on the plastic face and being like, all right, I'm going to tell the jokes like I'm happy.
Yeah.
Like,
I think
that's the way you should for the crowd. But how do you do that?
Right. I talked to Eric about this a bunch too, at length when we were still growing the scene and figuring stuff out and teaching, and we'd debate about stuff. But I always thought that from like improv days, you go through this improv warm up to get yourself in the mindset. Like, you put all the stuff behind you of the regular day, whatever happened in your work day. Kind of ignore that for a little while, so you get into this like performance mode.
How do you do that?
I actually, this is by no means meaning to put, I'm using a term lightly that I don't like to use, but I think it's like a controlled schizophrenia, honestly. The reason I say that.
So you're a schizophrenic?
I think comics have a form of controlled schizophrenia. I don't mean to use that term lightly and make light of people who have that condition and suffer from that condition. But I think there's a little bit of separation of mind.
I don't know much about schizophrenia, but you don't want to really be on their bad side, and they have like 3 of those. So you don't even, you know what I'm saying? Or is that multiple personality?
Hey-o.
I was trying to think of one too.
How about 6 sides? Okay.
But the reason I say that is that, like, in different modes, from what I know about schizophrenics, is that in different modes they can have a place where they'll speak fluent in another language, or they'll talk in an accent, and things like that.
That's multiple personalities. That's not schizophrenia, right?
Well, I think that's one of the subcategories. If I'm remembering the DSM correctly.
Multiple personalities is a
subset, I think, under schizophrenia. Of course,
Did
that
you see
might
that
be
story?
totally wrong.
Did you see that story in New York about the lady?
No, not anything recent.
She was diagnosed with multiple personalities. She has like 5 of them, like 6 or 7 years ago. And then they just found out she's like 4 or 5 months pregnant. And they still don't know who the mother is.
Hey-o.
Hey-o. I'm doing jokes.
That was beautiful.
I'm tired of this show not being funny. I'm going to do fucking jokes from my notebook. That's what I'm doing. Anytime I can. Clips. Okay.
Because when, like, there's plenty of situations where this phenomenon ends up being, like, kind of seen from, we were talking about Seth and his stutter. There are people that stutter but then can sing and have no worries with stuttering. They get into singing mode and it's a different part of your brain that's controlling that, and it bypasses that path.
Why are there no singers that you're like, it sounds better when you stutter when you sing? You know what I mean? There's nobody that's like, I only stutter when I sing.
I don't know.
In real life, I just talk normal.
Yeah, I think it's a different part of your brain. I don't know if anybody stutters when they sing.
Except when you're scatting,
I think that they probably do. But I remember listening to a woman talk about her condition, and she was singing opera, and during the interview, stuttering all of the examples of her singing opera. It's just this beautiful voice.
Mel Tillis used to be that way. There's an old country singer that he had a really bad stutter, but when he sang, he didn't.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
If it's just parts of your brain, it's interesting. Why wouldn't there be examples of like, I only stutter when I sing? Like that would just, but then the other side of your brain, so it's only one side of the brain that causes the stutter.
Well, I wouldn't say one side, but one
portion.
Yeah, there's going to be some portion.
Seems like the opposite.
And it might be multiple sections, right? So if you look at fMRI, functional MRI machines, where they're looking at activity, there's very little activity that's there. There are centers that have a real important role, but a lot of times your whole frontal cortex is lighting up, and when you do something else, a different part. But you know, it's kind of like more like, think of like circuitry rather than like a specific spot in your brain.
Yeah, I'm just surprised it doesn't ever malfunction. I'm going to start using that as an excuse to get out of singing karaoke.
You should.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you want to go sing karaoke? No. I have a really bad stutter when I sing. Normally when I talk, I'm fine.
When I perform improv and I'm on stage, all of the kind of verbal tics that I picked up over the years and have go away. I don't have the uhs, the ums, the so's, the buts, the things that I will do as that verbal tic to waste a little time at the beginning of the sentence, they go away. When I'm actually in character, you can tell if I'm phoning it in for an improv show. If you hear any of those, you're like, that's it. Otherwise, I have to like try to insert them. If I'm like, I'm going to have a character and I want it to have a particular sound, I'll have to
insert it, yeah. The ahs and the ums.
And a lot of times, while I don't ever imitate a specific character, I do like pull from like my 8th grade math teacher, and he's like, you would do that all the time.
Oh, okay.
So he'd be like, and he'd play with his nose every time. He'd be like, And then for some reason, everything was a baseball analogy when it made no sense. He'd be talking about doing well on a quiz. He's like, It's like there's 3 ducks in the pond. You just got to knock them home. And we're like, what are you talking about? For this algebra quiz?
Yeah. Well, it's all laid out there. The problems are, all you got to do is plug in the answers, knock it in, baby. Yeah, it's like
you just need a single.
Yeah.
Or a walk or a hit by pitch.
Those don't really make sense, to be honest. They don't.
Yeah.
They don't fit.
And I knew some of them, but he also used, archaic baseball terms and things because he was of a different era.
I love using baseball examples for things, like that, using it as an analogy for things. I can't even think of one now, but I do it all the time. Like, it's like, that's like being in the minor leagues.
It's mostly, yeah.
It's like a guy that's like, I don't do impressions, that's hack. Like, and then you can do them. Like, that's like being a bullpen pitcher. Be like, I have a great slider. I just don't like to use it because everybody has one of those. That's hack. You know, like, what? Yes. No, you use the skills you have. If I could play guitar, I'm not going to shit on a guitar comic. If I could play guitar and sing, I would definitely have a bit about it. I would have a bit about, because it's a part of who I am,
Yeah.
So to just not do it because other people do it is.
I still find it inane that comics will shit on other comics because of the type of comedy they want to do.
Oh, I'll do it. I want to do a whole. Me and Hooper want to do a whole special where it's like behind the curtain, just making fun of the guys on stage that are doing crowd work. Like what? Like you're a crowd work comic. I don't care. How about you do some actual work and write jokes? Like I don't. It is fun to do some stuff, but to create laughter in the moment and blah blah blah. And it's one of my things about improv too that I use to shit on. Like it's a lot of first jokes, you know what I mean? It's a lot of like, and is that why you got into comedy? Because you really were curious about what people do for a living? You couldn't, you know what I mean? I was like, I really want to know how long they've been together. That's why I'm doing comedy.
But when somebody does it well, there is a difference between doing it well and doing it poorly, and using it to get into your bits.
Ian Bagg is on another. I don't know if you know who Ian Bagg is.
Yeah.
Yes, and as a way to get into bits, yes.
There's
guys I watch that I'm like, I love what they do right there.
I just think you're more likely to see bad improv versus good improv. You're more likely to see bad crowd work versus good crowd work. It's just the funnel of greatness, and there's only going to be so many people at the top in anything. And our friend Brian would get like opportunities, but they're like, you can open for me, but you can't bring your guitar, and things like that, because they're like, I don't want a singing comedian on my show. That was Bob Saget that told him that.
Bob Saget's playing guitar.
No, Bob Saget was saying, Brian, you can open for me. But
Bob Saget plays guitar, that's why. He doesn't need to want another act that does what he does.
So it sounded to at least Brian that it was...
you're a guitar act?
I don't like singing comedians, so...
That's weird. I think if we looked up Saget, maybe just one of his times he had a guitar. Like, I remember him being a guitar comic where he sung like really dirty songs.
That's right on brand.
Huh?
That's right on brand for him.
For him to sing dirty songs?
For him to be, like, to have this kind of surprise level of filthiness, because he always looked really clean cut. I remember his special went back on the Young Comedian show. Yes. And from the first line, it was like, whoa. And just, it was something different, and you could tell he was going to go somewhere. Yeah, he was, and I remember Eddie Murphy's special started with like, "This isn't Saturday Night Live." Yeah. Like that to him, like it's funny that was the tame. Like you're coming to see all my tame shit. I don't have that. Like and he was on Saturday Night Live, which is supposed to be the controversial, you know. Yeah. So you're a business owner, right? And a regular human being. So I've had this come up a few times. So I was talking about it today with Stuart Huff too, and my wife this morning was talking about a person at Home Depot that got fired because tried to stop someone from walking out of the store with some stuff, right? So they fire the person, right? Same thing happened with a girl at Lululemon. You know, like the thing. General rule is now, let them have it. At what point do you join in? Do you feel like a chump by now you're not stealing? Like, if they're not enforcing this, how long is it before everybody's like, well, it's stupid. All right, I'll just take a Kit Kat with me. You know what I mean? Why pay for stuff? I get your question. How long would it be? How many people would have to start stealing before you were like, all right, that's dumb to pay for it? I don't think I would ever get there because I would feel for the people I'm taking from. Jenny would just steal stuff for you, though. I got family members to do it for me. That's what I mean. Like I feel like my kid won't. But in 5-10 years, when 2/3 of the kids he knows do, he's going to be doing it. And then the next generation later, they're like, it's just going to get more and more of people just like, yeah, they'll figure out ways to prevent it in a way that doesn't put people in danger and be able to prosecute and get those people, I think. But I just would never do it from, like, you started by saying you're a business owner. Yes. And I'm just like, I could never do that to a small business. I could never do that to a big business. Because at the end of the day, you impact somebody's life. Well, as a small business,
If I was to walk into the beer and wine shop or whatever and just start taking shit out of your cooler, what would you do?
Don't do that, Tom.
I know. What would you do? I did take some chips out of the thing the other day and went like, I got the, I'm stealing these. Anyway, but you know what I mean? Like, what do you do as if you're in the bar and I just walked in, not necessarily me, but just anybody, and just grabbed a 6-pack and started walking out?
It hasn't happened to us. I don't know what I would do, honestly. I'm not one for confrontation, but I would stand up for the business. I'm more likely to stand up for the business or somebody else than I am for myself. Like if in a situation where I saw somebody just grabbing stuff and running out of a store, I would be. I
don't even think they're running. I think they're just walking
out. From day job, one of the guys on the team was at the mall where they just stole. And it's in California. They made off with, I think, $300,000 worth of stuff from this mall. Just like this organized group that just went in and grabbed stuff from Nordstrom's and other stores and just loaded it in their cars and took off.
Remember when it like ruined career? Who was the actress that was like, she got busted?
Oh,
she was
Winona Ryder.
Winona Ryder,
like a scarf or something.
Yeah, they like stealing that kind of stuff, and it was like they were looking to stop it, and somehow corporate America just went, it's cheaper to just let them take it. Right?
Yeah. I mean, I think there's going to be a different time where when you go into, there's like that old IBM commercial where every item in the store is chipped. And it looks like the guy is stealing stuff and putting it in his overcoat. And he walks through the door to leave. And the security guy is following him and is like, hey, you dropped this. But the way the commercial's set up, it's like you expected the security guy to be like, I saw you stealing that stuff. But what that commercial is meant to show is like every single one of those things is chipped. So as soon as you walk out that door, it just automatically hits your credit card.
They explode.
And things like that, although that's not perfect, because you should be able to go into a store without the intent to buy. And like, how do they know your credit card is clear? There's plenty of questions. I don't know how you implement.
You're thinking that they're going to figure out a method that.
But I think there'll be something that will, because it's a really expensive problem, and the thing I'm confident on is really expensive problems get solutions.
Okay,
there's going to be somebody in Silicon Valley that's going to be like, hey, I'm going to solve this problem, and it's going to be great. And by saving the this percent, I'm just going to pocket that. It's billions of dollars.
But in the meantime, do you feel any obligation to go take stuff from Home Depot? You know what I mean? Like, some people are about kill the rich. They want to eat the rich.
That's true.
I mean, how about if I just get some patio furniture from the rich? Maybe I get a grill.
The thing is that I don't think that ever affects the people that you think it affects. I think it has a bigger impact on the people that
have to pay the regular price.
So the other people that are coming into the store, it's affecting them.
How?
Because when a company has those losses to theft, all they're doing now is, in order to make money, they have to raise prices. So that loss is built into the price of everything else that people pay. So, because it's not like Home Depot is going to be like, we're gonna plan on losing. I'm just making this number up, $100,000 per year from the store, and they're going to make it up. So everybody is going to pay $100,000.
So more people, more and more people that are not willing to steal are going to start having to just pay more and more and more for products.
That's true. Yeah, I think that's part of the more people steal, the more that will happen. I think that is the truth.
So if I don't steal, I'm going to have to pay more even.
Yeah. Like 1 or 2% probably.
I don't want to steal, but you know what I'm saying?
You should.
Coupons.
Huh?
Coupons.
I like this whole just walk out thing. I like that method. I like that. I have a truck. You know what I'm saying? Huh?
I said 5-finger discount.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously, the morals of it, I'm against that. But I'm also against all the corporate theft and the top of the food chain of capitalism. That's like, So, you know, so you could argue there's a moral obligation to steal from them.
Well, except I think, again, the people that you hurt, I think that breaks down, because if you were to go in and steal $1,000 worth of stuff from a Home Depot, it's unlikely to have even the slightest effect on the CEO, who's making 100 times the next highest paid person, or whatever the actual rate is, or the lowest paid person. So that you're more likely to affect the other shoppers, the other people that are in there, but also likely to be like, if they're going to have to make a cut, it's going to be one of the hourly workers that loses their job. It will never actually have an effect of sticking it to the man in that situation. I think you're going to be just sticking it to the other people that are in your same situation.
So if you get fired from Home Depot for stopping somebody from leaving,
which is insane.
Right. On your way out, do you grab some shit off the counters? You're like, I'm fired.
That one I think you might have found. That might be the one place where it's like, yeah, I think maybe you deserve that. You know, because it's an odd thing. Because I'm sure what the rationale is, we have a policy, you didn't follow the policy, and because of that, we're letting you go.
All right.
But at the same time, stopping somebody is showing the right.
You're trying to do what's right.
Level of, not only what's right, but also you're probably looking out for the other shoppers, the store, the brand, and all of those other things. Like, it seems weird to penalize that.
Yeah, you gotta go get like a wood splitter. You gotta grab something on your way out. You know what I mean? Something if you got fired for that. Now, why not? Like, there's a tool to, like, another one of those type of places that where this sort of first came to me. I was coming out of a Home Depot, and I watched a woman, or she was talking to like somebody at the store and being like, yeah, they walked out with a blah 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 and a blah blah blah, and and they got into a Subaru, and so I was like, what are you talking? She's like, oh, they just left with some stuff, and I'm not allowed to stop them. So she was giving me that,
Yeah, I think
she doesn't want to put herself at risk. They don't. It's just corporate.
You can take someone in a Subaru.
Right, and that's what she's not even allowed to go get their license plate. Like, they're not allowed to do anything. Yes, yeah, I don't know why I went with Subaru. I should have went with a more thieving car. I don't know what that is, But and then I was in this other place, and they have like a security guard, and I was like, huh, is this that threatening of an area that you need to be here? And he goes, no, it's like corporate wide. I'm in the stores. And not only that, he's like, and I can't really do anything. Like, I'm just sort of here as that thing that's like, please don't steal, and a reminder that that's illegal to do. And if they do, I just say, are you just going to take that? There's nothing I can really do. It's like a cop car on the side of the road that's when you think you're getting busted for speeding, but it's empty. You know what I mean?
They've been doing that on I-40.
Yeah. So that's obviously they've done the math and they've decided,
Yeah, I mean, they have consultants. They have done a lot to figure out what to do and what not to do, and I'm sure it's all numbers driven and finance driven. Certain of it.
So is it the government's job to then stop that, or should the company have to? Why can't the company just hire like a cop like a bar does? Like a bar hires an off-duty cop to check IDs, and if shit goes down, get the police there to get them arrested, or they beat them up in the parking lot. It's probably just
part of the equation, right? What's the cost of that versus the loss that you're going to have? And if you have a significant loss, can you actually because I think a lot of the Home Depots have those kind of security systems in the parking lots.
Yeah, of course, but they don't use them, right? They're not using them unless it's the police come and ask them for them. You can still
correct, but like if you steal like $1,000 worth of stuff, I'm pretty sure that's like a felony. So there might be some threshold that you cross. You steal and you think you're scot-free, you're just. They got your face, they got your car, they know who you are, and they come get you after the fact. And that's probably safer for everybody. And that's probably part of the equation too. There's probably a lot of levels of this that, the big stores have thought about, and then the little guys just get screwed because nobody really thinks about.
But the little guy, that's your own choice as a business owner to decide what to do. If I walk into your store, how do I know you're just not going to pull out your shotgun and plug me in the back? And you got every right. I'm stealing a six-pack.
I think you're more likely to find a place in the South with that as their policy.
Yeah. But that's not going to happen to you at Home Depot. So if you're going to steal from the big man, is what I'm saying. pawn it off, come in and celebrate.
It's good advice you're giving.
That's what I do here. That's what I do.
I didn't anticipate that was going to be a conversation point tonight.
I didn't really either, but it was on my mind today, and then I came in and I had a conversation with my buddy Stuart a little bit about it, and then it's like I want to go back over. I'm trying to, like, you know, I'm always trying to find the angle that for that joke, because that's one of those topics that I brought up maybe 6 months ago or whatever, and I was like, can you just, and then you start to see it in the news, and it's like, right. Now culture starts to catch up and know that that's happening. It's like, oh, if I can have the bit on that. Plus, I'm interested in the idea of it.
All right, I got a question for you then.
Like, you know, I should steal, and I recognize with my son, like, he wouldn't, but I can also see, because I've talked to him enough, and Seth can probably back this up, like, if he's sitting there and he's like, well, just, why would I pay for that? They're not going to do anything about that.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that would be like,
seems dumb for me to pay when I can just take it.
It's not fair that 1,000 people over here get that benefit of just going in and grabbing stuff. Why wouldn't I also want to be one of those people?
That's why looting happens.
I get it.
So
I get it. But I do have a question for you.
Sure.
All right. So thieving, but not from Home Depot. You see a joke you like. Would you ever thieve that joke?
By ever, do you mean in the past or from now on?
From now on. Tom, today.
No. I wouldn't know. And even then, it'd be like when I very first started, the first couple times on stage, it was
There's
like
a lot
stuff
of comics
like,
don't understand. New comics don't get it. So like I give them a free pass until somebody explains it to them, and they still do it. But
I want to get to the place where I have so much like of that comedy integrity, where it's like even if I wrote a joke and then I see somebody doing like a version of that joke, I would love to just be able to be like, all right, I'm done with that. And I always feel like, nah, mine's better. I wrote mine first.
But
you know what I mean?
That's fair though, right?
But yes.
But comics get away with thieving jokes all the time.
Yeah, I wish they did.
But that's a situation that's like if you line that up with the Home Depot example.
Well, you can,
right?
Because
if you get a whole bunch of comics that have
steal,
success,
yeah, people
and
steal
then it's
jokes
be like,
online.
well, why shouldn't I do that too? Because I see these people not only getting away with it, but thriving with it.
That's what a lot of those meme people do on social media. They just take comics jokes and then they make them that used to make me so fucking mad.
Still makes me mad.
But what can you do?
Did you ever get memed, Tom?
Dude, yes, I had so much stuff stolen that I would literally go hunt them down like online and wish cancer onto their children, and just say.
That's what security guards should do instead.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's really funny.
Just wish cancer on
Stop!
people.
Stop or I'll wish cancer on your child. I'm a cop who believes in manifesting things. Wouldn't that be hilarious if that's how you fought crime, by manifesting bad things to happen to people? That's my superpower.
That would make an awesome comic book.
You can manifest things?
Yeah.
Manifest man.
Manifest man.
And the weak part in the comic book is where he just doesn't have any ideas, and it's just like
what do I manifest?
I hope you run out of cereal. Damn it!
How is there not a manifest man?
Manifest man. It's even got the alliteration. It's nice.
Yeah. What would his costume be? Would manifest man?
Well, he should manifest whatever's appropriate.
Well, at the moment he can be whatever. He can be in whatever.
I think that's it.
He's like a quantum leaper. Manifest man.
Let's write the script, man.
Let's not do it now. We don't want to give that away. I have a lot of.
This might get memed.
That's right. I have a lot of influence in the industry off this show.
We don't want another family member to get cancer.
But just that question though.
Accidentally.
That question back to you though, Tom. There's a difference, because you're like, eventually there's a point where I'm like, well, maybe I steal that from Home Depot, but I would never steal someone else's joke, put it on my own social media, and say I'm going to make money off of that. Right? And you wouldn't also steal someone's joke and tell it on stage and make it your own. There's a never on that category, but not on the other category. It's pretty interesting. And that actually might be the angle that you find of like, where is that line? And maybe that's the measure of what's important to you.
Yeah, I think, I mean, for myself, I I'm not gonna. I've been programmed my whole life to think, not thou shalt not steal, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm uncomfortable with it, you know. But there is a huge part of me that's like, what the I'm just going to take that Kit Kat then. They're not going to do anything about it. It's
when we were kids.
That guy just took it. That guy just took it. That guy now if I pay for it, now I'm getting fucked by the Kit Kat Corporation because they won't stop them. I got to pay extra for my Kit Kats? Fuck that. Give me that Kit Kat.
Yeah.
Give me this peanut butter too. We'll dip it in there. It's a different company.
When I was like 12, I'm guessing, plus or minus, I went to the mall with a friend and we were at the arcade and we went to the drugstore, it was like a CVS or a Rite Aid in the mall. And my friend said, go up and ask the guy behind the register just a question.
I'm listening, by the way.
I know you are.
Yeah, okay.
And so I went up. I was like, all right. And so I went up and asked the question. While I did that, he pocketed some gum. And then later, we're back at the arcade, and he's like, "You want some gum?" I just took it, and I made him take that gum back to the store. And he returned it and said I mean, there was a little bit of a lie because neither one of us wanted him to be in trouble for taking it back. So
he snuck back.
Yeah. Well, he actually put it on the counter and said, "Hey, I grabbed it, forgot to pay for it, left it on the counter," and we walked out.
Before he didn't eat a piece of gum first and then offer you.
No, because I stopped him as he was opening it.
I walked out with a deck of cards one
Bubble
time.
Yum.
Yeah.
Bubble Yum.
That's a good choice.
Yeah.
You seem more of you seem more like that. What's the gum that used to squirt too?
Oh yeah.
With Squishers.
Yeah, you're from that era too, right?
Yeah,
Fresher, was it Fresher? No,
yeah.
Well, I can't remember what it was called. It was, yeah, I did that with a deck of cards, and I got home and it was in my pocket, and I just was mortified.
Yeah.
And I remember I was young enough too that I think I was so scared I was in trouble that I was like, went and told my parents, and I had that like I'm crying. You know, I think I stole this. You know.
Yeah.
I can't remember now. I can't remember.
The worst I did was I watched the guy at Harris Teeter scan all my stuff, and he didn't scan the paper towels or the tampons, and I was just like. And I didn't say nothing. And then he just was like, all right, have a good day. And I was like, you too. And
maybe he was just hooking you up.
Maybe. I don't know. He was a young kid who did not want to be there. So I was just like, all right, word. And just left.
Okay. Do you ever, I don't pay for organic.
Oh, you just put in the regular?
I just put in the regular produce code.
Mm-hmm. I think that's normal.
I feel a little like if I have to work for you and not, you know what? I'm going to do like an employee theft. You know what I'm saying?
I told a joke that if I were ever to get a tattoo, I'd want to make it useful, and I'd get a UPC symbol for ramen on my wrist, and then just cover up the UPC symbol on whatever I'm buying, and just ring up ramen every time.
That'd be pretty good.
That's
a beast.
That's a really good method. We can, you know what? We can work that out for you here. We have a show that does tattoos in this studio.
Get you on Micro Machine.
And I'd be like, hey,
I'm in direct competition with them, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm trying to climb over them to be the top in the studio.
What you should do is steal their concept. I think we just covered that.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
You want me to tattoo it, is what you're saying?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Not Boudreaux, Tom's tattoo.
My own got a tattoo, by the way, and he didn't do that he went and got it.
I know.
All that talk about do the research on the tattoo artist, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, oh, this guy down the street in Farmville, Virginia, from the college I'm in, he's been doing it for 16 years. He's good.
Them Farmville boys got to eat too, man.
It actually is pretty fine. It's a pretty decent tat.
Farmville.
What else did I want
That's
to
so
talk to you
funny.
about?
Your town is named after a Facebook game.
It is.
Man, I'm sorry I'm late for work. A cow teleported above my car or something. I don't know.
I didn't even recognize it. Maybe I'm saying Farmville because I remember it as a show and it's not Farmville.
Why did I put it on me?
I think he is. I think it is Farmville.
Oh, I got a good question I thought of the other day. So, if this was the reality of the world, like everybody's allowed to kill one person and get away with it. Like everybody. You can kill one, you can't kill anymore. Do you think you would have killed somebody already, or would you already be dead?
That's a good question. I mean, if I have had some mortal enemies that I have made pretty upset.
Mortal enemies with Steve.
I was a pretty big smartass in high school, and so I got.
You think most people would have used up their thing by high school?
So here's the I think so, because I think like you don't know. I would still be saving mine, right? Because I would have to make sure, like I would in this hypothetical situation, I would only pick that person if it was pure evil and there was no connection to that person other than that individual.
Yeah.
So you'd be the opposite of like most murders, which happened from one person that you know to another, right? Most murders aren't random,
right?
Right? They're between people.
If there's, because even if I dislike somebody greatly, I never wish death on them. I would be bad at Manifest Man, because I always think about
you could wish it on your child.
Because I always think about they have connections in this world that matter to those somebody. That person likely, even if they're a piece of shit, they're gonna matter to somebody, and that's what would ever stop me from wishing like death on somebody. So I would still be saving myself for my murder for like Hitler level.
I'm saving myself for the right person.
That's right.
Right.
But I think
I feel like I would just be. I feel like one night I'd be flipping through the channels and I would just be like that guy, fucking Sean Hannity, dead tomorrow. That's the way I want it. Do I have to do it, or does it just happen?
It just happens.
Just happens.
Oh my God, that's how mine would just be. I'd be like, oh, I've been saving mine for 10 years, and then somebody cuts me off in traffic, and I'd be like, fuck that guy.
And that's why I'm not confident that I would be more likely to be dead, just because you step on someone's toes inadvertently, and then your number's up.
Could you?
Dude, if someone did it to me, my mom would just do it to them immediately. It'd be like, is it really worth it?
She's saving hers for mama retaliation. I love it.
I think that
anybody beats me to me, I'm like, hey, you can't. My mom has her wish still, so you gotta leave me alone. You gotta be nice to me.
Do you think that there would sort of rise? There would be like they'd try to teach you in school how valuable it was to save that thing, or would it become a part of culture to be like teach you how to use it and stuff?
Yeah. Because you probably would have a class thing where lower class would probably sell it to upper class.
Their ability, who they kill.
Yeah. So I still have mine. You pay me enough, and I'll wish that on the. I'm sure that would happen.
Okay, now would you do that? Because you said you wouldn't wish it on somebody yourself, but would you sell your?
No. Okay. So I mean, if I needed in this hypothetical world, if I had to feed my family, I don't know, but assuming that I was
meal?
okay.
Did you get that hungry where you do it for one meal? Like, come on.
but like if that was going to mean that I could feed my family and take care of my family forever, then that might enter in. But otherwise, I wouldn't trust somebody to make the same choice that I would, so I probably would hold on to it.
Huh. I think there'd be a money point where you'd just be like,
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm telling you what I think you would do. I don't even know what I don't even really know what I would do. I think I would waste it. Like,
oh, I know you'd have used it when you were like 13.
Well, humans in general are.
No, I didn't really start not liking people until I really got out amongst them. You know what I mean? Yeah, I didn't.
Like as much as I'm saying I would have never used it, I got hit by a car when I was walking out from back in the day when you'd pay for the gas inside, and I was walking back to my car, and a young woman backed into me thinking that she was in forward, and it's one of the moments I hulked out in life.
What did you do? You what?
I hulked out.
Oh, you hulked out.
Yeah, the bumper hit right above my knee, and I twisted my knee and ankle. That was it. And nothing broke. And I was down on my knees behind her car, and she was freaking out, and she was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry," which sounds real nice, but in the moment, I just was like, "Go away from me," and growled at her.
Oh,
and she stopped what she was saying and quietly got into her car and drove away. So
I was. Get any info or anything?
No, I was scary enough that I stopped her mid-sentence from her. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. But I did.
And she just calmly got in her car, or did she sprint into her car? Like,
well, she wasn't really too far out of her car. She had opened up the door and she had stood out, so she was right in the doorway still.
Yeah, she didn't care that much. She would have got all the way out there, like, if she really cared.
When did this happen?
Didn't even get out of the car all the way.
This happened probably in '89.
So you didn't think you didn't immediately think I'm getting paid from this?
No, I just was mad. I got hit by a car.
Yeah.
I got angry. And I limped for a little while and I was good.
Yeah. I have family. They would have cashed some insurance checks. You know what I'm saying? I had some family on Long Island that like
Slippin' Tommy.
Yeah, one of them got hit by a business like I literally, there's talk in the family about they would do things like walk in front of car. Like they would do that like to get hurt. And
slipping Simmons.
Yeah, they were a little some of those. I got some of those in the New York side of my family,
oral surgery that went wrong, and I had lawyers trying to get me to sue, but I wouldn't do that because I didn't actually think the person was negligent. I just thought it was bad luck for me and for the whole situation.
Yeah.
But I had an artery burst in my jaw, and it happened after I got home, and they're like, so don't worry, you might see. Well, I guess this is getting kind of gross, but you might. So spoiler alert. Yeah. But you might have some blood in your mouth, and no big deal. It mixes with your saliva. It looks worse than it is, right? And so I'm sitting at home. My sister brought something from some
TB rag.
That's like the worst setup for like what went horribly wrong, and then you're like, no, they warned me about this.
Exactly.
This is nothing.
Exactly.
Just can you add visuals of just blood drooling out of his mouth right now?
I'm watching, and I think if I remember correctly, it was a video called Psychos in Love that my sister got, which I don't remember the movie except for the beginning where it started with like, it's this guy talking about how much he loves, and I'm going to make up a name, Samantha. She was perfect, and he goes on for like 30 seconds about how perfect she was. But then I found out she liked grapes, and then he kills her, right? So it's Psychos in Love. It's just a ridiculous B-movie kind of thing. And she thought it would be fun to take my mind off the pain while I recovered. So it was really sweet. She brought me a tape. And I was sitting there, and my mouth fills up with blood, and I go to the bathroom and I take care of it. And I go back and I sit down, and it happens again. And my mom is freaking out already at this point. And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
They told me this is going to happen. It looks worse than it is.
So
but eventually it made no sense for me to even go back to the couch where I was.
Yeah, I was thinking that immediately. Like, it's too bad you weren't a dipper. You just get like a spit cup.
She just brought me this mixing bowl that I bled into.
Oh.
And I went back to the surgeon, and it was lunchtime. And I still even had my head about myself because I told my mom, see if they have a back way in, because they don't want this. Because I probably look like a bad vampire, just blood. And
vampires keep the blood inside.
I know
what I'm saying? I imagine they're
a bad vampire that needs a napkin.
Yeah, he needs a bibby.
Just hey, you got a little flesh there.
I need to be a better listener. You didn't waste a word. You didn't waste a single word. You did exactly right.
So I had my mom lead me in the back way so that I didn't have to walk through the waiting room of next patients and freak them out.
How old were you?
17, 18.
Oh, okay. I thought this was like
17, 18, and I get in there, and my doctor isn't in there, but the other doctor is. My doctor is still at lunch, and he freaks out, and I got everybody in the office in my mouth, and it goes Novocaine, sewing in that order at that speed. It's just it was pretty excruciating, except I was kind of out of it by then. And I'm still kind of with it, and
it's a lot of blood loss,
but it's still not working. And
what's not working? They're not being able to stop it.
The sutures didn't do anything.
Oh, okay.
And he cuts out the sutures and redoes the sutures, and that wasn't comfortable. But it's also still not the worst thing because I was still more out of it.
Right.
And that's when my doctor came back and saw that it was coming from the bone, and so just jam some bone wax in, which is a thing, and just filled the cavity with bone wax, and I was good to go. And then I passed out, and when I woke up, it was dark. So they let me sleep in that office from lunchtime to darkness in the summer in Syracuse. So you're talking at 9 p.m. I slept for like 8 or 9 hours, I think, before I woke up.
You didn't have a white sheet over you, did you?
Wow.
I did not, but like they didn't care to send me to the hospital or anything, which is also kind of insane.
I think you have a case. You know what I'm saying?
We had friends of the family who are like just take care of yourself. Just do it. It's no sweat off their back. But I just thought that guy didn't try to kill me. That was just, how did he know that the way my anatomy was, that artery went through close to where the tooth was pulled?
Would you say
because he should have?
Yeah, but all you have is a 2D image and an X-ray, so it's not.
It's older time.
Yeah.
Huh.
So I was like, I'm not going to do it, because like if I win, whatever, and I'm not even sure if this is true, but I've been told that even if you lose, you can still have your malpractice insurance go up and stuff.
I had the similar thing with this. Well, not a similar, but when I got hit by the car leaving in the festival, and I was walking down the street here in Greensboro going to the show, and I got hit, and I did the same. But I went airborne. I was, I like smacked into a thing,
Meet Joe Black.
Yeah, I got hit pretty good, but I still was like, I had got a lot of people saying the same thing, like, what, you got to get in the ambulance, dude, and get the insurance and get paid, like you could have made money, and I'm like,
I got it for 20 minutes.
I felt fine, a couple, I had fucked up my elbow probably a little bit permanently, and I had a limp for a little while, but yeah, I had a show to mail in. In that situation, was it okay for me to phone booth in a few jokes?
You phoned that in. but we didn't even get back to that thought earlier. It will be a hell of an editing job if you make this smart.
No, that's what makes this show so great, dude. we totally go off topic and then smoothly transition right back into it for people that cared.
You asked how you do both, how you're in the moment and put on your professional, I'm going to perform the hell out of this show, and you can still be in the moment.
Yes.
Like I think it's because if you're actually true to yourself as a performer, you can do both simultaneously. I can it might not work with every joke equally, but there are going to be jokes where instead of just that joke that's really embarrassing, you're gonna feel some pain that night, and it's okay, and that's okay. The joke is still, I think, gonna hit, but maybe hit differently.
Yeah, I'm getting a lot more. I've been doing this a long time, and I feel like I'm just figuring out some of that comfort level stuff on stage. Of being like, oh, okay, I got. Even if it's not going well, I'm sort of like, all right, I'll be fine. I got jokes. I'll do those jokes, and then I get off sometimes, and I'm a little like, yeah, you did the easy joke. Jokes that work, they become the easy jokes, But
I feel like I may have said this last time. Sorry if I'm repeating, but
it's okay.
But I was embarrassed about coming from improv and going into stand-up and then being so scripted for stand-up. I remember the first time I was bombing, and I was just an idiot, right? My first set was 8 minutes on and it went pretty well for your first set being 8 minutes long. It was actually, I think, pretty okay. Second, similar, and then I got cocky and I was like, obviously I got a gift for this.
Right.
And I wrote 15 minutes on it was March.
On your gift?
It was March, and I did some my hot take on St. Patty's Day, right? And in that research, I got into this Wikipedia rat hole of just looking at patron saints of whatever, and that was new to me because I grew up Jewish. I was like, oh, what is this? This is like outsourcing your prayers? I get it, right? So now you have to know. But I was going through the list, and I was like, this list is insane. Like, at least now people have the internet to know who to direct their prayers to. But like before the internet, how did you know who to send your prayer to? And there's a lot of overlap and weirdness in that. So you have, patron saint of the sick and the patron saint of the sick and the poor.
Yeah, I never paid any attention to any of that.
It was just like incredible.
Is that Catholic? That's a Catholic thing, or are they?
Yeah.
So they're not recognized like that in like different branches.
Yeah, I don't think I don't think most other religions, but even other sects of Christianity, but at the same time, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's patrons. So you found out there's a shitload of them, and you just started writing.
And I just started writing a joke about all, and still I have some decent premises in there.
Of course.
Yeah, that's still to this day, and I've told that one like the.
What are the ones that people know? Like Saint Michael is the one of like losing your keys or whatever.
Yeah.
I think he's the patron saint of losing shit.
Like there's obviously Saint Patrick. And
what's he the saint of? Green
he's
beer?
The patron saint of Ireland.
Snakes.
Yeah, credited for bringing Christianity to the island, which I said, in the years of peace and harmony, well done there. And
good job, good job, motherfucker. Like, let's celebrate this guy.
Mission accomplished.
What does saint mean? It means causes 70,000-year war. What the?
And then he's also credited with getting rid of snakes on the island, which.
I thought that was the Pied Piper.
There might be another alternate explanation that might fit the data better. I don't know.
So he's like the real Pied Piper, like that story. Wasn't the Pied Piper the one that led the snakes away and then took the children?
Rats is the Pied Piper story.
What did Patrick get rid of?
I don't know. For no reason other than stereotype, I imagine it's some shillelagh kind of act of God. But I don't really know. There's a patron saint of comedians. I don't know if I'm going to pronounce it right, but it's Saint Genesius.
Oh yeah.
And also
within
his realm of patron saints of this, and this, it's comedians, seizure victims, and torture victims.
Yeah, Genesius. Yeah, comedians.
Yeah.
But have you met Mudhead Zuni?
I've been admiring Mudhead Zuni.
Mudhead Zuni is...
Pull up Mudhead Zuni.
We can't
see him.
Huh?
Pull up Mudhead Zuni. We can't see him.
Oh. Mudhead Zuni. Right? He's like a spirit of comedy.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. At least that's what my mom told me when she gave it to me when I was younger. I don't know. I've sort of kept it on my bookcase, and now it's here. But yeah, he's like a spirit of lightness and joking and comedy and jest.
Fun.
Yes. So he's the patron saint of mudheads. He's the yes. I think mudhead in Pueblo means patron saint. Patron saint of.
Don't fact check that one.
Zuni means comedy.
Don't fact check that one.
Okay.
Mary Magdalene is the patron saint of hairdressers. They got a patron saint for everything.
Yeah, that's what got me into this thing.
Yeah,
right. And I kind of started one of the other premises that I think is solid was there's the patron saint of sick and then the sick and poor. So one has both. So I did this form letter response to my prayer of thank you for your prayer. Your prayer is very important to us, but based on your most recent tax returns, you need to direct your prayer to the sick and poor patron saint.
That's good.
Solid premise.
That is good.
But I remember I was into this and it was going poorly. Like my St. Patty's joke was maybe like the first 45 seconds and that went okay. And I was like, all right, here we go again. With that over cockiness that happens to new comics. And then I remember it was dying so bad. And the actual thought that crossed my mind was like, I got like 12 and a half more minutes of this. These guys better strap in. And I didn't go to other stuff not that I had a repertoire, but I had at least two different sets that had worked before. I could have just bailed and done something different that I knew was maybe more proven.
I don't know. I like that you did the work and stuck with the bit that you were working on. And out of that 12 minutes, maybe you found two. But that's what it takes, right, to do it.
It does.
You need the patron saint of savers. You know what I'm saying? Do they have those? Do they have a patron saint of callbacks or some shit you can throw in there?
I think it'd still go under Genesius, but
Genesius.
Genesius or Genesius. I even looked up how to pronounce it once, and I can't even remember.
So your next open mic, you should try some patron saint material again.
All right, done.
When he was growing up, he thought the number of nuts you had was the amount of kids you could have. Meanwhile, there was 3 kids in his family.
So I thought Dad had 3 nuts. I don't know.
I always loved some of those thoughts.
Like when you were a kid?
Yeah. I don't know.
We just record everything and then he makes a great show out of it.
When I was a kid, I had this.
He makes a great show.
And it was partly because of what I grew up with, but I thought white bread and potatoes were the same thing. Because anytime we had mashed potatoes, it was like flakes that was mixed with water. And so I figured if you just made breadcrumbs and mixed it with water, you had mashed potatoes.
Huh.
That's kind of sound logic, though.
And I was like, yeah, it's the same thing. We have a friend who thought that chicken wings, that the bone inside the wing was a piece of plastic, and that when you finished it, the reason they give you a bowl is they would take them back to the kitchen and like re-meat them up.
we got a couple of re-meats.
Holy shit!
How old were they when they thought that?
Up to an age like 20.
No, they did not.
Yeah,
he makes a great show out of it.
I will not say their name.
Wow.
That doesn't matter, but
yeah,
that is funny.
It was there is a few that this person
such a level of dumb.
There is a few. Well, it's just that
or uninformed, not dumb.
Yeah. What happens is you get your. I mean, it's how humans work. You have your way of explaining the world, and if you don't have a reason to question it, why would you ever change it?
Yeah,
that's true. I remember we convinced a girl one time. We thought that there was such a thing as a snake that could talk. And I was like, you never heard of the parrot snake?
You saw Harry Potter.
Yeah, like, yes. Parrot snake. And I remember just going with it and she just buying it. We were just curious how much stuff we could make up that she would believe.
Well, I had older brothers, so they did it to me too. My older brother told me that the guy who owned the house before us died and they buried him in the backyard. And I thought that well into like middle school. And like I brought something up to my parents. I was like, oh yeah, the dead guy in the backyard. And they're like, what are you talking about? I remember thinking that for a long time. They're like, no, honey, there's not a dead guy buried in the backyard.
Are they sure?
That one could ring true. Yeah, your brothers could know something your parents didn't.
They're just saying something. They're just saying on their own belief, there's no dead body in the backyard.
Or they're covering it up.
Oh, they might be part of it.
True.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't around.
Because maybe he has 4 balls and has 4 kids.
He makes a great show out of it.
Well into my 20s, I thought that the term pro bono, like when people say, oh, I'll do it pro bono, like lawyers say it, I thought that they were doing a play on Bono from U2 because he's a big philanthropist. I thought that meant like, oh, I'll give it to you. I thought that was the term, not a Latin thing. I was literally like 23 when I figured out that was not it.
Yeah, see, but like you can see how someone can get there, and until somebody actually corrects you, and like that correction wouldn't even come up. You'd be using the term correctly. People would hear that term correctly, and it would be a weird situation for somebody to explain it.
Yeah.
And so you're only dumb when you hear the explanation and you're like, nah.
Yeah.
Nah, that's definitely a U2 reference.
Yeah. I was telling him, I was talking to my buddy Stuart about something, and I mentioned a John Mellencamp verse, and it's like that kind of like hey baby, you cleaning up the evening slop. I was looking at her and said, hey baby, I remember when you could stop a clock, and he goes, no, it's
starve a fly.
Starve a fly. I remember when you could starve a fly. Like his whole life, he's thought he said starve a fly right there.
All right.
And he created the story around how that makes sense in the song. Like he means, I remember when you were a shitty cook.
Yeah.
And he just believed that his whole life.
I like that better than stop a clock.
I think once we talked it through, I think he's right. I think it is better because you're really just saying, hey, I remember when you were pretty.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's a pretty awful thing to say.
To your wife when she was just cleaning up the evening slop, you know?
All right. Speaking of wives, though, Jenny and I have a controversy to this day. I think she knows. And I think she's still arguing, knowing that it's the I know you're right, but I'm never going to admit you're right kind of thing.
Sure.
It's from the movie Mulan.
I'm out.
And the line is I think the line is something like a girl like that doesn't come around every dynasty, and she hears a girl doesn't come around like that every Chinese day.
It's definitely Dynasty.
Thank you.
Definitely Chinese Day.
You would take Jenny's side.
Chinese Day is funnier.
But girl doesn't come around like this once every Dynasty?
Yeah, and I was like, it's Dynasty. It's definitely we've watched that part over and over again. We even got Disney Plus just to renew the argument.
I have a question. Have you ever thought of turning on closed captioning?
No, you're going to ruin it for us.
I need it.
We can solve it. We can definitely solve it. We can definitely solve it.
That's what I did. That's what I did with the Stop a Clock versus Star or Fly. Like I was literally like, no, man, He goes, did you look it up? And I was like, I don't need to look it up. I know it's Stop a Clock. And he's like, I'm going 98% that it's that. And that's just being conservative. Like,
wow.
And he goes, I'm going 98% that it's Star or Fly. Like, and that made me look it up. Like, there's no way, there's no possible way that the answer is once every Chinese year.
Chinese Day.
Chinese Day.
And you can hear the sound, right? You get a little bit of the sound, but her rationale for thinking about it was like, well, there's a New York minute. Why can't there be a Chinese Day? And I was like, all right. Point taken. She's right.
That's actually pretty good.
So like, once again, it's just like, that's how you interpret it. And that's your world. And then in this case, it's not a trusted source. It's her husband telling her, no, it's Dynasty. So
and she knows your percentage of being wrong is pretty high or is pretty good.
I think if you actually asked her, I think she would admit that my percentage of being right is high, but the percentage of me winning an argument is very low.
Okay. Maybe you should argue. Maybe we should argue that. Maybe that's the way to win an argument.
No, I don't think so.
Only to fall into one of Simmons' trap doors.